Hello there, outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. Ooh, I gotta like switch things up a little bit here because there were two things that were off. One, it's not just about me. Today we have an incredible panel of two awesome people that I cannot wait for you to get to know. And then the second thing here is that like I've recognized recently for myself that while I'm meeting you all as outliers, I am also increasingly interested in helping y'all become trailblazers and for like because it's about taking the thing about you that makes you different, and rather than just helping you navigate that on your own, I get really excited by with playing with people who are taking what makes them different and creating the path that others can go on afterwards, making sure that it's not just them, but others also get a chance to benefit. And that is exactly who we have in this conversation here today. I'm excited to explore each of your journeys. I'm excited to see how you think about it, how you're navigating the unknown, and while also staying really true to yourself and building something that can be sustainable. Simone, Silly, you down to play like that today?
Yes.
100%.
Awesome. So why don't we let outliers get a chance to get to know you? And so what I'll do here is why don't we start with you, Simone? Would you mind letting outliers know more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Okay. So I'm Simone. I'm the owner of the Calm Joy Candle Co. And I was just explaining to them earlier that the 4-year anniversary is on Saturday. And then soon I'll also be opening my own private practice because I'm a mental health therapist as well. So stepping into the juggling, all the different things. I'm also a mom of an 8-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So definitely when we were talking about young people earlier, I definitely get being in the thick of it. I feel like I'm actually coming out of the thick of it with a lot of the things. So there is hope on the horizon if you have small children. So I guess that basically sums up. Oh, and I have a podcast, which is, why I'm here. And it's for my candle business, but it also kind of fuses the two of like mental health and like nurturing your space, which is the hope and dream of the candles. So that's me.
Well, thank you for being you. Thank you for bringing that. Thank you for also opening up that door. You're like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. So that feels good overall. Well, Simone, it's good to be in space with you. I love to hear how things keep evolving for you, and I'll be interested in seeing how that all plays itself out in our conversation. Silly, let get outliers to get a chance to get to know you. Would you mind sharing more about you and the game you're playing?
All right. Thank you so much for having me on this talk. My name is Silindo Mabena. I'm based in South Africa. I have a podcast called Waiting for All Things Beautiful, inspired by the meaning of my full name, Silindo Buhle. I am also looking into starting or rather renting out a podcast space. Podcasting is growing a lot here. It's growing very rapidly here in South Africa. And so I'm starting to just look at that avenue. And yeah, I'm a graduate. I've got an HR qualification. I am a corporate girly. And yeah, there's a lot more about me. I'm also a mom. I'm a mom of a son. And yeah, I think as we chat, you'll get to know me even better. Yeah.
That's it here. I appreciate you all coming to play this game here. Um, let's start off here. Let's start off a little bit about like what you're doing right now, what you do for work right now, and what motivated you to do that. Silly, would you mind letting us know here a bit about like what you're doing nowadays and what got you to move down that path?
All right. So basically, like I had mentioned, I do have a qualification in human resource management. So I am a corporate girly in the blood. I love human resource management. But the reason why I then branched it out into podcasting is just based on my own personal life and everything that I've went through. I was just telling Simone earlier on that I created the podcast mainly because I wanted to start a platform where young people can come together and talk about topics that are quite hard to talk about. For example, I think you mentioned that the past few years you were in credit, you were just not doing well in business. This isn't something that people can just talk about just in any space. So Waiting for All Things Beautiful is just a platform for young men and women to come together and we brainstorm on how to pass and, conquer certain obstacles. I'm also a very young mom. Well, I was a young mom. I got my son at a very young age. To just talk about that with young girlies and how to overcome that and how to just, be the best version and don't allow yourself to get stuck in a place or a space that, it's not you. You can overcome anything. And that's the reason why I initially started the podcast. The core of it is just ensure that young men and young women have a safe space and they can just conquer anything that they go through, basically. Yeah, that's me.
All right. So like, thank you for giving us a little bit of that kind of context there. I'm gonna when we play with it, we might come back to this, but I'll point this question right now, which is what do people do when they have safety, right? And I'll come back to that. I'll elaborate on that in a little bit, but I'm curious about how you play from there. Simone, how about you? Like, let us know a little bit more about the origins of why you do what you do.
Yeah, so originally I was a school counselor and then I transitioned to being a therapist. So it's called a licensed professional counselor, an LPC, but it's a licensed therapist. And before I transitioned to be a therapist, I was a school counselor. There was COVID, the lockdown, the whole thing. And I was looking for something a little bit lighter and brighter because there was a lot of doom and gloom. And I feel like it's easy sometimes to get sucked into that. So to help me not get sucked in, I wanted a creative outlet and I had dibbled and dabbled in candles previously. And so I'm like, let me just make some candles. And I saw these businesses popping up. And in my mind, it's funny because I'm such a person, like, I guess I'm kind of like a corporate girly a little bit too. Like when you're in the school system, you're like a corporate person. So I never saw myself being an entrepreneur. But I saw these businesses springing up and I'm like, you know what? Like I think I can do this. Like why not me? So I started my business, and like Niiamah was saying, it's definitely has a lot of journeys and twists and turns and all of these things that happen. And I actually went through a divorce. My mom passed away. Like a lot of things have happened since then that I had to navigate. And I think it's not talked about enough how much your personal life affects your business life and how it like I don't say it takes away from because it enriches your business as well and it enriches you as a person, but it does take a lot of mental space to deal with a lot of things. There's a lot of aftermath after divorce. There's aftermath after, a parent passes away and dealing with their estate and different things. And I'm still navigating. Um, so even though my Kindle business is turning 4, it's a toddler or coming out of the toddler stage, but it almost feels like it's a little bitty baby too, because I'm finally able to give it the attention and everything that it really needs to grow. And then also, like I said, stepping out into the space of my own private practice and helping people with the specializations and things that I want to do. It's a bit to navigate. So that's like, I don't know, I feel like my path has had a lot of twists and turns. And like Silly, I want to help people who maybe are in a similar situation or maybe want to avoid some of the situations. I want to be able to openly talk with people about these things. And as a therapist, like Silly has her podcast for that, but as a therapist, I talk with people all the time about difficult topics, navigating life, all types of stuff that maybe isn't always out in the open. So I love that there's other spaces outside of like a therapeutic space or something closed off because some of these things do need to be talked about in the open. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got to where I am.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you all, and to the extent that we can in this conversation, like let's demonstrate what that space could be like, right? I think that there's just a lot that comes in and as a benefit of it, and there's something that like what I don't want you to know about me is that I feel that in the past I was super dialed in on depth, like and holding space and like actively seeking the places where people wouldn't like the conversations people wouldn't normally have. And then I think something happened in the last 2 years. I think it was like my second child was born. And I just like lost that extra bit of space. I don't want to like no excuses if you're listening back this year. It wasn't you, babe. Um, but there's an element here that I want to invite in this conversation, and I'll let you know this is how I'll play it. I'm not necessarily sure I can navigate us to it. I can definitely play while it's here, but I may not navigate us to it. So my invitation is like if the conversation comes and it feels like it naturally takes ourselves there, um, the space is available. Like this space is what we choose to create from it. All right. Outliers will see where the conversation goes, but we'll like yeah, let's feel free to lean into it. Um, so Silly, you talked earlier about there's an element here about like having um being able to say things where in places where people would like being able to go to places where people wouldn't normally go to, especially in like conversation and more open areas. And that takes me a bit to a bit of courage, vulnerability, and beyond. And so what I want to talk about because is I think the question that comes to my mind is uh, what do you do once the safety is provided, right? what do you like? There was a time where I was really interested in making safe spaces, and then I got bored because I'm like, this place is so safe that like we're not leveraging the safety to do anything, or people will come and they would be safe in my space and then be like afraid back out there. And it was almost like this felt like an outlet to be like, okay, I can just be safe here. Okay, now I have to go back out. And so I would love to like open up that conversation with y'all to see how do y'all think about creating safety? How do y'all think about doing it in a way that actually leads to transformation with it? I got I got jaded at some point, I think, and I'm finding myself like my heart is saying like, no, 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 we got to bring it back. It's all part of it. So I'm really curious. Why don't we start off with we'll go with you some. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to direct where it goes. Let's just see where the conversation goes. How do y'all navigate it? How do y'all keep things continue to grow even with the safety?
Mhm.
I think you can go ahead, Simone, and I'll follow.
Okay. I was gonna say, I guess it's a part of my job too, because I have to kind of help people find the courage to not only open up with me, but to open up with others, like maybe who they're having distress in relationships or different things. And so they can come to me and we can always vent to the people who it's not about them or it's not an issue with them. But then when it comes time to interact with them out in the real world, like you said, everyone's kind of scared or afraid. And so working on skills, working on courage, working on mindset is like a big thing to help people want to feel safe, like outside of just a closed off corner somewhere. And like you said, it can get boring, I guess, because people will say things behind closed doors. And then when we're out in the open, like everyone's quiet and it's like, okay, there's no change. Like, what was all that for? We talked about it till everybody was blue in the face, everyone was geared up, and then it's crickets when we get out there. So it's hard because there's like societal shifts that need to happen, I think, in order for people to feel safer. So it's on such a bigger level than maybe us having discussions or different things. There's policy changes, and I can get into the whole thing, but I won't. But there's a lot of things that need to happen for more of us to feel safe as we get out here in the world. But I think even just practicing being vulnerable, I think the more that we practice, it's like a muscle, the stronger that I can get. So courage, all of these different things, bravery, they're all muscles that can be practiced. And so I think even just providing the space to allow people to exercise these muscles, while it doesn't always translate into the change that we want to see outside, I think it definitely contributes to it. And I think there's a level of patience that's needed as these changes can hopefully come to fruition. So
Yeah.
that doesn't really answer or solve anything, but that's my take on kind of what it's going to take to see the changes that we would like to see.
I completely agree with you, Simone. I think with me, the reason why I created this safe space, especially for young adults, is just based on childhood, honestly. I think that um, growing up, we never really had spaces where we could talk about certain things freely. For me personally, I grew up I don't know how to put it, but it's almost as if you had to know certain things, but really you didn't. We were never really taught certain things about life, and you get out there and it's just put in your face. And so there are a lot of mistakes that people have done, I myself have done, my peers have done, and I just created this space because it's a safe space to talk about it. I think the only thing that we need, especially now more than ever, is just people who can listen, people who can relate, and certain situations where you can feel like, okay, I'm not alone in this thing. There's someone who went through it and they've overcome and they can conquer. And so for me, the reason why I created this space is because I just want people who do not really, I don't know how to put it, but they've found themselves in situations. Now they've come, oh, they've gotten back up, but there's just this lingering of, am I good enough? Will I ever, be okay? Yes, you will be. And for me to just draw other people who have had the same experiences, if not similar, and just talk about how they have conquered is really all that people need, I think. And so, yeah, I think that's the definition of safety for me at the moment.
Right? Like y'all are getting me thinking here. Simone, you brought up like practicing courage and bravery and all those things. Like, but they're things that could be to be practiced. And um, very early on in my career, I guess it was very early on. Like my career is still like I've been entrepreneuring for a while here, for at least a decade. But like it still feels early with Lisa's brand. One of my offerings was called a courage gym. And I was like, let's come out here to actually go and like work on the elements of courage. So, and like actually strengthen that muscle. So let's see here, like in the space of practicing courage and bravery, because this is it. Like these outliers are on their trailblazer journey, and we've left that space of like the relative safety of the norm of what society has rewarded, so on and so forth. And so like on a regular basis, we might just actually end up walking into something that no one else has done and has created its own level of danger. So I'm curious for you all now. Um, maybe this might be an internal thing you're doing, or maybe it's like an external thing that you're taking on. But in what way are you practicing courage and bravery right now for you? Silly, why don't we start with you? Like, how are you practicing courage nowadays?
I think how I'm practicing courage is just to speak out and not hold back on certain things that I've been through. I think it's going to assist many young people. Haven't really been through a lot of things, but I think when you open up the door and you're vulnerable, like you said, I think Simone said that vulnerability is a muscle. It's not easy being vulnerable, but once you open up about an aspect of your life that isn't really pretty, and you can now show people that no, you can literally overcome this, it opens up the space to be vulnerable, and it does take courage. It's not easy. It's not something that you can just say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable to strangers. No, it's not quite easy, but it does take the courage and the bravery to sit there and then open up and then let people know that, okay, it took this amount of time to forgive yourself, to look into this. You're smart enough, you're intelligent enough. And yeah, I think that's how I'm practicing courage and bravery at the moment. And also, I mentioned earlier that I am branching out, as in looking for a space to rent out and also start my own like podcasting studio. That takes a lot of bravery. And so yeah, I'm definitely being brave and courageous when I'm doing all of this combined. Yeah.
Thanks, Silly. Simone, what's
Yeah.
coming up for you?
Yeah, I love the word overcome. Like every time Silly says it, I just like I'm like lit up. Because that's such like a big, big word, is being able to see people overcome stuff. Like Silly mentioned, we're going through things and we're like, has anyone gone through this before? Has anybody like made it to the other side? Like, is life just over now? Do I need to just like forget it? So that's a really big word. And like Silly, I think for me, I'm kind of like intentionally seeking out opportunities or spaces or things that make me a little uncomfortable or even a lot uncomfortable. So I'm trying to lean into, and I mean, not so much that I'm like stressed and all like, worn down and everything, but just keeping my eye open or receptive to opportunities that I might usually be like, I don't really want to do that. But now I'm like, no, like we're going to go for it. We're going to try it. We're going to see what happens. And even though I always say like my hands get sweaty, my heart is pounding, my knees are shaking, but I'm still going to like step forward and do the thing. And I think Niiamah talked before about visibility and me just not wanting to be visible. And that's
Mm.
a part that I'm leaning into, is just the visibility piece. And like in my mind, I have all of these crazy things attached to it that may never happen. But trying to lean into that. And so that's kind of how I'm practicing the courage and bravery, is leaning into like uncomfortable opportunities and different things that come along.
Mm. I love that you're leaning onto things that make you uncomfortable. I don't know if it's something that I read or heard, but there's always just this saying that echoes loudly that says that you don't really grow when you're comfortable. You need to be uncomfortable. Once you comfortable, it means that you're headed into something. But once you're comfortable, it means there's a certain area of your life that's now become complacent, and you're now, you're not really reaching your fullest potential. So I'm really glad, and yeah, I'm hoping that other people can just get uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and even like we mentioned, some of the personal, I think some of my recent, well, over the past several years experiences, I was so uncomfortable. And at moments I'm like, I'm not going to make it. Like this is it. Like I'm going to end up stuck here, or whatever the situation is. Like I'm not like I'm going to have a hard time moving forward. But when I showed myself that I was stronger than I knew and I was able to make it through those things, I'm like, okay, it's going to get uncomfortable. It's not going to feel good, but I can do it. This is something like, if I made it through that, like I can do these other things. It might be ugly and messy and whatever, but it's doable, and just me having that mindset, like I can do this, I think has been like a big shift for me. Cause the times there where I thought like, I can't do this, like, this is too much. Like, there's no way. But, now I'm like, no, I can do this. It's not going to be pretty, but I'm going to get it done. So yeah.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah, there's this. I love that element. It's not going to be pretty, by the way, Simone. Like, and that like, we're having this conversation, like I'm smiling and sitting back because I'm like, this feels real. Like, I feel like I'm with people who are practitioners of this, who are finding opportunities to keep growing. Um, the messiness of it all, I think. I often describe this here, like thinking about things from the standpoint of like how do people learn, and the framework I use, there's many different ones. One of the ones I like to use is like around like unconscious incompetence, and it goes all the way to unconscious competence and the various stages along the way. And I think about driving a car. It's like the first time you drive it, you think you know what it's going to be like, and then you come in and you have the messy things where you're slamming too hard, or you're running into different things, and you're like, hey, we're going to practice this messiness in like the comfort of our neighborhood. We're going to be in these spaces here, and what's coming to me is like as this game has gone on, my quote unquote neighborhood, the places where I can feel like the messiness can be, has continued to expand, right? Uh, you also brought in something here. You brought in a couple of different things that were cool, but you brought in like this element of like intentionally leading into spaces that make these kind of opportunities. And outliers, I'm going to invite you to like think about that here because a lot of us have come to a place where like these opportunities were thrusted upon us. We're like, I don't want this right now, and then we ended up navigating and to your point, like we found like, oh, I'm still here. I can get through it. Um, and what's been interesting now has been like getting to a place where I almost feel like my nervous system used to like act up all the time. And now I'm like, it's been a while since I felt something, like I don't want to share this here because it seems silly, but I'm gonna like, and again, this is like, I'm gonna do it. Like, this is it. This is me like leaning into the opportunity. I'm like, if I don't want to do it, it's like there may be something there. So I like this is the first recording that I'm wearing this hoodie in, and I've been like walking around like I literally asked permission before we came on this space. I was like, do y'all mind if I just like am warm, And I was thinking about like all the other things that I bring out. Like I'm still like there's still parts where there's different edges. There's still different places to lean into, um, and so I'm glad you're bringing this up here and uh, you know, inviting us, I think, in some way to find these opportunities on a regular basis to keep playing with. So, allies, think about it for yourself. What if today, as a result of this conversation, you decided that you're going to intentionally lean into the opportunity? You went for what felt uncomfortable, and you said, okay, because of that, I'm going to go into it today. Just for one day. What if you tried that out? Right? Simone, you talked about hands getting sweaty, and we have a thing here specifically that we call like our the sweaty palms project. When my former manager brought it up here, but I'm curious about. There's a bit of safety, and even in our conversation right now, if we talk about the ideas of like what is visibility, what is safety, right? There's safety in that, and I think I want to like help get to the edge of like what's real, right? So would y'all mind just sharing about like a project that you're taking on right now that's actually giving y'all sweaty palms? How are you navigating it? You're a bit scared, but also a bit excited. Really, really want to jump into like that element of what you're creating. Anyone want to kick us off on that?
I guess Silly, were you going to talk?
No, you can go ahead.
No.
You can go ahead.
Like, I guess for me, the idea of having two businesses going at once, and I'm a single mom, so it's like I think in life there's just balls that are dropped, but I'm nervous about dropping the serious balls. And failing, I guess, is just like a thought all the time. It's like, what if this doesn't work out? Is it going to be embarrassing, or how I have to pivot, or all of these different things. But I'm like, I was listening to another someone, I think it was Rachel Rogers' podcast, and she was explaining how sometimes we have to lean into the thought of if I don't do this thing, how many people are not going to get help, or how many people are not going to get access to certain things. And it's like, I don't want to call it duty, but it's like, how could I not? Like, how can you be so selfish as to like not do these things? And so I've kind of switched my mindset to that. So that's helped. I mean, there's still the sweaty palms and heart racing and all the things, but I've kind of went into that mindset. So just having multiple businesses and those being my sources of income for my family to survive, um, are the sweaty palms thing for me. And then also there's a pivot in my Kindle business that I'm going to be trying this year where I'm going to be pivoting more into like it's called private labeling. So it's like you kind of customize your candles for other brands and different things. So something I've been thinking about, but it comes with different things. And like, I don't want to get into the weeds with it, but just something that I'm going to be trying. And I'm also been doing something where I'm partnering with other local brands to do like a gift box thing. So that's something I've just like recently kicked off. And again, the thoughts, what if this doesn't work out? Nobody cares. Nobody likes it. This is ugly. I don't like it. All of those thoughts. So that's how I've kind of been leaning into it. And I guess I'm like one of those people who always thinks of like, I don't say worst case scenario, but I try to be prepared. So already like thinking, okay, how am I going to have to pivot? Like if this happens, what's plan B? What I need to do? And so that's kind of what I've been doing. But that's me, like, I guess stepping into things being different this year and being open to what may or may not happen and being open to what I don't know how to say, like, what do I need to do to make it work? Or what am I open to? Like, what opportunities might come along that I didn't think of, but might be the thing I need to do. But I don't want to be resistant to them because it's not what I wanted to do. If that makes sense. I know that was a roundabout way, but hopefully that made a little bit of sense.
This real quick here. Let's check it like outliers. What sensations did you get? Well, oh, this up here. Like uh I found as you were talking, my left leg was started bouncing. I felt like I like energy that was there. And my shoulders actually like I felt like kind of like I felt like a desire to just rub it out. Like there was like a soothing element of this. And what I feel inside here is I'm like, oh, she gets it. Like that's that like that element of like, oh yeah, 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 yeah. Like because I heard something here around like you're growing and pivoting inside the candle business, but at the same time you're still having all these thoughts of like, what if it doesn't work? What if no one likes it? Da, 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 so on and so forth. But you're still going,
Mhm.
And I think that's really interesting. It's like it's not I gotta figure this all out first. It's like, oh crap, this is happening and I don't know how this is gonna work out. And there's just a lot of kinship I got when you said that. So it made a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you back, and I want to hear from Silly. In hearing that it made sense, since you asked, in hearing that it made sense, does that change anything for you?
That makes it feel better because sometimes I say to myself, like, Simone, does this make sense to you? Like, what you're planning to do, like, does this make sense? Or is this really what you want to do? Or there's the thought, like, you can always back out, you don't have to do this. But like you said, I'm going to do it. Like, it's going to happen. That's already been decided. But it's relieving that it makes sense to someone else as well.
Yeah, I really get that. Lots to say on that, but like, let's bring in Silly here. Silly, what's floating for you as in any part of this?
I think I'll just go back to Simone. I like you say that if I don't do these things, then how many people am I depriving, from helping? I love that. One thing that I mentioned on one of my podcasts was that no matter how saturated the industry is, no matter what, just do what you feel you can do. Failures will. And I think I read a quote that said, I can forgive someone who's tried, but I can't forgive someone who just got paralyzed and didn't try at all. Failures are going to come one way or the other. And so, yeah, just speaking on that, what I would like to do is to just build a community of strong women who can stand strong. And, my goal is to have this foundation where women can come together and we speak about things that can, move us forward. There's so much to do in the communities. There's so much to do in schools. There's so much to do for young mothers. Simone, I am too a single mother, and I think that there's so much that we can do if we come together and we help each other. So my goal is quite big. This podcast isn't just a podcast, but for me, I wanted to reach a lot of people, and then we get together and we literally create a movement. The safety help. People can come to Waiting for All Things Beautiful Foundation, something like that, and you can get the help that you need in terms of whatever it is. It can come in a package, it can come maybe in your sitting, and we can help you psychologically, whatever it may be. But I think there's a lot that people can, bring. Once you've overcome certain things, you can then help other people. And so for me, my goal is, what makes me sweaty is, how am I going to get these people and how are we going to come together? Is my vision going to come to fruition? I'm hoping it can, by the grace of God. But if not, I'm just going to keep trying. As long as I've tried, I didn't just sit and do nothing. And yeah, I think that's it. That's where I'm at right now.
Mhm.
Oh, Silly, I'm so glad you're part of like in my mind, I'm like, I'm glad you're part of Outliers Ed's world here because like we got you on this here. Like I literally heard you're like you're a movement maker, you know? and you're leading the movement, and like there's something sweaty about that. Like I used to introduce people like myself as that. I lead the World of Difference movement. I lead the World Joy movement. And I hear you. You're like I there's a movement behind all of this. So thank you for letting us see you in that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we like I'm very excited to see like how we just like continue supporting each other like to bring these things out to life, right? Because we're not alone. We're not alone. All right, we build off from there. Um, I I got taken right now. Well, there's two places. There's something that I got taken in that I want to ask on behalf of Outliers, but there's also another part of me that's like I get really curious what y'all are curious about. And so I'm gonna lean into that and like let go of the reins, you know. Um, so where would y'all like to take this conversation? What's something that's on your mind? What's a question that you like to bring in, or what's a point of conversation you like to have? Um, I think I would just like to like chill with like two peers and that are creating something awesome in the world, and see where we go. What's playing out for y'all?
I guess for me, I always want to like yell out into the internet world and just hear it echo and be like, is anyone else terrified? Like, is anyone else like, just like overwhelmed and like, oh my gosh, like what's about to happen? So I don't know. I know that that's like a really
Give us some context. Give us some
I know.
is it just like this over like this like underlying sense of like terrified, or is it like in relation to something give us that context. Let's have some of the conversation.
I think just like we talked about, like, is it going to work out, or what does it look like if it doesn't work out? And to me, I'm always like, what is working out?
Right,
Sometimes the end goal looks different than we thought it would be, but it's not
right,
bad. Um, or it's not, sometimes it's better. But I guess like, the thoughts of like, what if I have, like Silly said, this big, beautiful vision and I just am having such a hard time bringing it to fruition? Like what does that look like? Or like, what do I do? Or does anyone else feel like that? Does anyone else feel like their dreams sometimes are bigger than them, but that you're kind of here to do those things? What if I can only take the dream so far and have to pass the baton to someone else? What does that look like for them to actually complete it? Um, so I guess that's what I mean when I say terrified. And none of those things are bad. None of those things to me, if someone was to say, this is what I had to do, I wouldn't even see that as a failure. It would be like, you did your part and someone else picked it up, or whatever it is. It may be our children, may take it across the finish line, like who knows, or their children, or whatever that looks like. But I guess for me, it's like in my mind, I have this idea of what I want things to be, and the thought of them not happening, or me being 70, 80, hopefully 90, hopefully I live like past 100. I want to live really long. But and I don't want to be laying in the bed, getting ready to pass away. And I'm like, dang, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I mean, we all have regrets and stuff, but I don't know. I don't want to be in it. I want to like just be happy and like floating away. And that's how I want to be on my deathbed. I don't want to be with all of these regrets and things that I knew I should have done that I just was too scared to do, or didn't do, or whatever it may have been.
I totally agree with you, Simone. I was actually, ironically, I think it was yesterday, if not the day before, I was talking to a friend of mine and I was letting him know that I honestly don't want to find myself on my deathbed having slept on my talents, having slept on so many things that are within me. For example, I also am a very talented vocalist, but I don't know if it correlates to what you're saying, but there's a sense of fear, like, okay, singing, is it really going to take me far? Do I have to, how do I even put myself out there? If I do, will I be received well? Will it even take me anywhere? Like you had mentioned as well, like we're at a point where certain things that we do need to be tangible. I can't just go out there, put my talents, and then I don't get a return. Yes, I'm talented, but then what? I've got a son. And so I'm just like, also wondering, how do you navigate this? I've got all these dreams and these ambitions and all these talents, and I don't even know where to place them. And I'm just wondering if it's for something. I'm just hoping it is for something. And I 100% get you. I'm also just wondering, is there anyone out there feeling like, gosh, guys, are you also as overwhelmed? are we doing the right thing? Are we going to be okay? But I think we are. I think if we really, there's another thing that I read that said, wake up with determination, sleep with satisfaction. I think I'm just going to take it day at a time this year and not really overwhelm myself by what's going to happen in a week, what's going to happen in the next month. I think we're given today and today only. Tomorrow's not promised. So I just always tell myself, if I did my best today, I'm going to see tomorrow, and so on and so forth. Because how I went about going or feeling very overwhelmed last year, I would take it in like 5 months at a time. I would not take it in like a day at a time. So this year, I'm just going to take it a day at a time and not overwhelm myself at all. Yeah.
I think that's like a beautiful mindset and something that I definitely need to adopt more. Is not always having to plan out so much, and just
Yeah.
letting things come. And it's crazy because what you mentioned about how like taking it day by day, as I've moved on my journey of closer and closer to opening my practice or just different things with the candle business, things have just appeared, or like something I've been like racking my brain around, like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And it's like literally, I'm on like social media scrolling and like the opportunities, boom, it's right there. Or an email pops up into my inbox, boom, this is it right here. Like I didn't have to sit there and stress for months about how's this going to happen or what's going to
Mm,
happen. It like was coming to me anyway, and I just had to keep showing up. And so I've been trying to lean into just continuing to show up and hopefully not stressing about all this stuff in advance. And I think I heard there's a saying where it's like the present is a present, and to really accept it as that and like being
right.
in the moment. Yeah, being more in the moment with things, because I know that once we do get to that space, like we kind of wish we would have like been present way back when things were just getting started, or when everything was new and fresh and exciting, and maybe one day I'll miss the sweaty palms and the heart racing because I want to feel that like aliveness again. So just trying to really bask in the moment.
I love that. Love that.
Yeah, you got me thinking over here. Like, um, you talked about the deathbed component of it, and I was like, what came from me was like, uh, I had someone over, and I forget what we were talking about, and he just looked at me and he said, "Well, the only question that matters is like, if you died today and you were here to meet your maker, like, how would you feel about it?" And like what I don't want to say is like, I was like, "Oh no, not good." Like we're not done yet, and there's some things that I haven't said out. And so like when you were talking about the deathbed part, I was like, I think that I had a great experience with someone who brought up he was a shaman, and he's like, it's like death walks. I know that death walks in the room with me when I'm in a room, right? I don't like, and it's like, and what that does is that it sharpens my moments. Like it's like at any moment all this could go away, and as a result of that, it helps me take steps that I wouldn't normally step into. Um, so you're like, as you're saying this, you're just making me you're getting me to calibrate right now. I'm like, oh, I'm still not there. Like you're getting me to calibrate into it, and I'm deeply grateful for you. I'm so grateful that I didn't even realize what the time was, and it is time for us to start wrapping up this conversation. Y'all are absolutely fantastic. The way that I have to do one thing here, which is outliers. Like I have a request of you here. You've just been listening to this conversation, and my ask here is that you share this episode with someone in your world who would really benefit from growing from it, right? If you have, please go. We would love for you to share it out on all of your platforms, your emails, your social medias, and so forth. Share it. But like we also have this thing we call one person, one conversation at a time initiative, where we just believe that if you can think of one person in your world who would benefit from this and share this episode to them as a gift, that's where like the real impact is going to go on. And like there's a really, really wonderful conversation that's been happening. So I do hope you take us up on it. So Simone, Silly, like we're gonna make sure like outliers are taken care of. They've gotten what they needed from this conversation. My ask of you here is that we wrap up here with you sharing the best contact info for them to go deeper down the journey with you, and one insight that you got from this conversation, something that you're taking away, if anything at all. So, would you mind getting us started on this? Let's go with you, Silly, and then we'll wrap up with you, Simone.
All right. I think I'll start off by saying one insight I got from this whole conversation was that I'm not alone, and that we are like-minded one way or the other. We're all trying to do this thing, and we are going to get there. We are going to get it definitely. So just summing it up, I'm not alone in this thing, and we're like-minded more than I thought we were. And I'm definitely going to be okay, knowing that there are other people who are, feeling the same way in different, atmospheres, but they're feeling the same way and they're still pushing irregardless of how they feel. And so, yeah. I think how you can contact me is through my Instagram. My name is Silindo Mabena, so it's Silindo Mabena, as in Mabena. You can contact me there. You can find my email address there, or you can just shoot out on my DMs. Thank you.
You, Simone.
Yeah, I'm basically going to echo Silly because that's what I got was that, there's other people out here who are on a mission as well. And they have a lot of the same, excitement and fears and thoughts that I have. And that's like comforting for me. Not that I want anyone else to be in English, but it's nice to know that I'm not alone, especially because kind of demographically or, where I'm at, like in my state, it's a little bit more slow paced. And when I talk about these things, it doesn't resonate with a lot of people. So it's nice to be around people that the mission and the drive resonates with. And you can reach me if you want to follow my candle business. It's the Calm Joy Candle Co. on all the different platforms: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of those things. But if you want to follow me personally, it's Simone F. Smith on Instagram. And like Silly said, you can DM me, message me, any of those things to ask me questions or, whatever. And yeah, that's how you can reach me.
Well, I'm grateful for you and outliers. Here's my invitation. If you're listening to this and you're like, well, like I can't really reach out, like lean into that sweaty palm moment and type it, hit enter, hit send, and like start the conversation. Like both of you two are incredibly genuine. One of the things that was running through me was like, I love how like authentic and like flowy this is. Like there were like y'all did not hold back and it wasn't stagnant and you weren't trying to perpetrate as anything other than yourself. And so I'm deeply grateful for you, outliers. I think very highly of both of these two people here. So please spend the time jumping into their world. With that being said, outliers, we're going to end for today. Remember this: until the next time we talk, be you on purpose. Journey on.